So, good evening, everyone. Technically speaking, this is the. Oh, I should change that angle. There we go. Technically speaking, it is the third week of Advent, but around here it's the second because I'm never on time. And when it was actually the first week of Advent, didn't even think of doing anything like this. It wasn't until later that week that I thought I might like to do something like this. So, around here it's the second week. Tonight I will be. So last night I didn't really finish, but I have stopped reading Irma Bombeck for now. And tonight I'm going to pick back up with reading The Little Prince, which I started as a one-off last Tuesday, which was my grandmother's 96th birthday. And of all the books that books that she read to me as a kid, The Little Prince is the one that sticks out to me the most. That stayed with me all this time. And specifically, I'm going to be reading the Katherine Woods translation, which is the original translation. The book was published in 42 or 43, I don't remember. But not long after that, Katherine Woods provided this translation, and that was the de facto translation until 2000. It's no longer in print, actually, because of that. It has since been replaced by the Richard Howard translation, which I don't care for. No disrespect to Mr. Howard, but I find two faults with his translation. The first, which is the most obvious, is it wasn't the one that was read to me as a kid. In fact, I have a feeling that had that been the translation that was read to me, I would prefer it, because that's what I grew up having read to me in my grandmother's voice. But another thing that I guess I shouldn't say care for. The thing that I preferred Katherine Woods' translation more for is that whereas Mr. Howard goes for a more direct translation and the book is more conversational and certainly reads more like a children's book, one thing that I really like about what Katherine Woods did is she went for a more poetic translation. So rather than being literal word for word, she tried to go more for the spirit of what was written. So she made some controversial choices, or I should say, made some choices that have been discussed quite heatedly among translators. I'm well out of that argument. I can't speak to any of that. I just am aware that that is what's going on, and I'm sure there's some merit to it. And what's interesting is the language that she uses is a more formal kind of language, but more nuanced because of it. You know, the meaning is a bit more under layers, which I appreciate. So, without further ado, and I should reiterate for those of you who maybe haven't watched me read before, these do nothing. These are just whatever. Oh, and I should also point out that I am using the illustrations from the book, which were actually made by the narrator. So as I'm coming into this sort of midstream, I read the first 4 chapters last Tuesday, and so for anyone who isn't familiar with the book, I would go back to last Tuesday's stream, check it out. But just to get you up to speed, the narrator has bemoaned the fact that the grown-ups discouraged him from drawing early on in life, and he has since crashed in the Sahara Desert and has come across the Little Prince and is striking up a relationship with him. As each day passed, I would learn, in our talk, something about the Little Prince's planet, his departure from it, his journey. The information would come very slowly, as it might chance to fall from his thoughts. It was in this way that I heard, on the 3rd day, about the catastrophe of the Baobabs. This time, once more, I had the sheep to thank for it. For the Little Prince asked me abruptly, as if seized by a grave doubt, "It is true, isn't it, that sheep eat little bushes?" "Yes, that is true." "Ah, I'm glad." I did not understand why it was so important that sheep should eat little bushes, but the Little Prince added, "Then it follows that they also eat baobabs." I pointed out to the Little Prince that baobabs were not little bushes, but on the contrary, trees as big as castles, and that even if he took a whole herd of elephants away with him, The herd would not eat up one single baobab. The idea of the herd of elephants made the little prince laugh. We would have to put them one on top of the other, he said. But he made a wise comment. Before they grow so big, the baobabs start out by being little. That is strictly correct, I said. But why do you want the sheep to eat the little baobabs? He answered me at once, oh, come, as if he were speaking of something that was self-evident. And I was obliged to make a great mental effort to solve this problem, without any assistance. Indeed, as I learned, there were on the planet where the little prince lived, as on all planets, good plants and bad plants. In consequence, there were good seeds from good plants and bad seeds from bad plants. But seeds are invisible. They sleep deep in the heart of the earth's darkness until someone among them is seized with desire to awaken. Then this little seed will stretch itself and begin, timidly at first, to push a charming little sprig inoffensively upward toward the sun. If it is only a sprout of radish or the sprig of a rose bush, one would let it grow wherever it might wish. But when it is a bad plant, one must destroy it as soon as possible, the very first instant that one recognizes it. Now, there were some terrible seeds on the planet that was the home of the little prince, and these were the seeds of the baobab. The soil of that planet was infested with them. A baobab is something you will never be able to get rid of if you attend to it too late. It spreads over the whole planet. It bores clear through it with its roots, and if the planet is too small, and the baobabs are too many, they split it into pieces. It is a question of discipline, the little prince said to me later on. When you've finished your own toilet in the morning, then it is time to attend to the toilet of your planet. And just so, with the greatest care. You must see to it that you pull up regularly all the baobabs at the very first moment, when they can be distinguished from the rose bushes, which they resemble so closely in their earliest youth. It is very tedious work, the little prince added, but very easy. And one day he said to me, you ought to make a beautiful drawing so that the children where you live can see exactly how all this is. That would be very useful to them if they were to travel someday. Sometimes, he added, there is no harm in putting off a piece of work until another day. But when it is a matter of baobabs, that always means a catastrophe. I knew a planet that was inhabited by a lazy man. He neglected 3 little bushes. So, as the little prince described it to me, I have made a drawing of that planet. I do not much like to take the tone of a moralist, but the danger of the baobabs is so little understood, and such considerable risks would be run by anyone who might get lost on an asteroid, that for once I am breaking through my reserve. Children, I say plainly, watch out for the baobabs. My friends, like myself, have been skirting this danger for a long time without ever knowing it, and so it is for them that I have worked so hard over this drawing. The lesson which I pass on by this means is worth all the trouble it has cost me. Perhaps you will ask me, why are there no other drawings in this book as magnificent and impressive as this drawing of the baobabs? The reply is simple. I have tried, but with the others, I have not been successful. When I made the drawing of the baobabs, I was carried beyond myself by the inspiring force of urgent necessity. Oh, little prince, bit by bit I came to understand the secrets of your sad little life. For a long time, you had found your only entertainment in the quiet pleasure of looking at the sunset. I learned that new detail on the morning of the 4th day when you said to me, I am very fond of sunsets. Come, let us go look at a sunset now. But we must wait, I said. Wait? For what? For the sunset. We must wait until it is time. At first you seemed to be very much surprised, and then you laughed to yourself. You said to me, I'm always thinking that I'm at home. Just so. Everybody knows that when it is noon in the United States, the sun is setting over France. If you could fly to France in 1 minute, you could go straight into the sunset, right from noon. Unfortunately, France is too far away for that. But on your tiny planet, my little prince, all you need do is move your chair a few steps. You can see the day end and the twilight falling whenever you like. One day, you said to me, I saw the sunset 44 times. And a little later you added, you know, one loves the sunset when one is very sad. Were you so sad then? I asked, on the day of the 44 sunsets. But the little prince made no reply. On the 5th day, again, as always, it was thanks to the sheep. The secret of the little prince's life was revealed to me. Abruptly, without anything to lead up to it, and as if the question had been born of long and silent meditation on his problem, he demanded, "A sheep, if it eats little bushes, does it eat flowers too?" "A sheep," I answered, "eats anything it finds in its reach." "Even flowers that have thorns?" "Yes, even flowers that have thorns." "Then the thorns, what use are they?" I did not know. At that moment, I was very busy trying to unscrew a bolt that had got stuck in my engine. I was very much worried, for it was becoming clear to me that the breakdown of my plane was extremely serious, and I had so little drinking water left that I had to fear the worst. "The thorns, what use are they?" The little prince never let go of a question once he had asked it. As for me, I was upset over that bolt, and I answered with the first thing that came into my head. "The thorns are of no use at all. Flowers have thorns just for spite." "Oh." There was a moment of complete silence. Then the little prince flashed back at me with a kind of resentfulness. "I don't believe you. Flowers are weak creatures. They are naive. They reassure themselves as best they can. They believe that their thorns are terrible weapons." I did not answer. At that instant, I was saying to myself, if this bolt still won't turn, I'm going to knock it out with the hammer. Again, the little prince disturbed my thoughts. "And you actually believe that the flowers—" "Oh, no," I cried. No. I don't believe anything. I answered you with the first thing that came into my head. Don't you see, I am very busy with matters of consequence." He stared at me, thunderstruck. "Matters of consequence?" He looked at me there, with my hammer in my hand, my fingers black with engine grease, bending down over an object which seemed to him extremely ugly. "You talk just like the grown-ups." This made me a little ashamed. But he went on relentlessly. "You mix everything up together. You confuse everything." He was really very angry. He tossed his golden curls in the breeze. "I know a planet where there is a certain red-faced gentleman. He has never smelled a flower. He has never looked at a star. He has never loved anyone. He has never done anything in his life but add up figures. And all day he says over and over, just like you, 'I'm busy with matters of consequence.' And that makes him swell up with pride. But he is not a man. He's a mushroom." "A what?" "A mushroom." The little prince was now white with rage. "The flowers have been growing thorns for millions of years. For millions of years, the sheep have been eating them just the same. And is it not a matter of consequence to try and understand why the flowers go to so much trouble to grow thorns which are never of any use to them? Is the warfare between the sheep and the flowers not important? Is this not of more consequence than a fat red-faced gentleman's sums? And I know, I myself, one flower, which is unique in all the world, which grows nowhere but on my planet, but which one little sheep can destroy in a single bite some morning, without even noticing what he's doing. Oh, you think this is not important?" His face turned from white to red as he continued. "If someone loves a flower, of which just one single blossom grows in all the millions and millions of stars, it is enough to make him happy just to look at the stars. He can say to himself, 'Somewhere my flower is there.' But if the sheep eats the flower, in one moment all his stars will be darkened. And you think this is not important?" He could not say anything more. His words were choked by sobbing. The night had fallen. I had let my tools drop from my hands. Of what moment now was my hammer, my bolt, or thirst, or death? On one star, one planet, my planet, the Earth, there was a little prince to be comforted. I took him in my arms and rocked him. I said to him, "The flower that you love is not in danger. I will draw you a muzzle for your sheep. I will draw you a railing to put around your flower. I didn't know what to say to him. I felt awkward and blundering. I did not know how I could reach him, where I could overtake him and go on hand in hand with him once more. It's such a secret place, the land of tears. Oh dear, I think I missed a picture. Did I miss a picture? I think I was so... No. I did. Oh man, you know what? I'm so sorry. I would be remiss if I did not introduce you to the rose. You know what? Actually, just a second. I'm going to pull back. I'm going to give you that last little bit again. The night had fallen. I had let my tools drop from my hands. Of what moment now was my hammer, my bolt, or thirst, or death? On one star, one planet, my planet, the Earth, there was a little prince to be comforted. I took him in my arms and rocked him, and I said to him, "The flower that you love is not in danger. I'll draw you a muzzle for your sheep. I'll draw you a railing to put around your flower. I didn't know what to say to him. I felt awkward and blundering. I did not know how I could reach him, where I could overtake him and go on hand in hand with him once more. It's such a secret place, the land of tears." So, considerably shorter than Irma Bombeck. I don't ever really time these things. I just kind of like portion them out, and I really wanted to be a bit more incremental with this one. Just as this, because I don't know. I mean, perhaps this is a book you're familiar with already. Perhaps you're familiar with another translation than this one. Perhaps you've never encountered it at all. And I think we can all, relate to the Netflix binge. And I always regret it because I kind of miss that sort of incremental nature of sort of allowing time to sneak in and get acquainted with something properly. So, anyway, so I will resume, of course. In fact, hold on. What comes next? What did I portion out? Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, fun. So, starting tomorrow, we get to learn a little bit more about the Little Prince's planet and some of the surrounding planets that he visits. So, thank you so much for being here. Stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you tomorrow.